Mathaji, you can go ahead and start live. You're on mute, I think, right? Yeah.
Okay, Prabhu, I'll start. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamadam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sachivam Sadvaitam Savadotam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakhanvitanscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna devotees, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 14, verse 12 and 13. The verse 12 is Sivai Sodjantam Adityam Abhirautyo Analanala Mamanga Sarameyoyam Abhirebhatya Abhiruvat. Translation. Just see, O Bhima, how the she-jackal cries at the rising sun and vomits fire, and how the dog barks at me fearlessly. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. It's just a one-line purport. These are some bad omens indicating something undesirable in the near future. Let's go to verse 13. Shastra kurvanti mam savyam dakshinam pasavo pare vahamscha purusha vyagra lakshaye rudato mama. Translation. O Bhimasena, tiger amongst men, now useful animals like cows are passing me on my left side, and lower animals like the asses are circumambulating me. My horses appear to weep upon seeing me. First of all, I seek the blessings of all the Vaishnavas. Please pray for me and bless me so that I can speak something useful for everybody. Bhagavatam recitation itself is useful, but whatever I speak, whatever I try to attempt, should be useful for everybody. So today, we are reading from the chapter where it is indicating the creation, but Canto is creation, but the chapter is disappearance of Lord Krishna from this world. So Again, going back to the verse, here Yudhishthira Maharaj is saying, look, O Bhima, how the she-jackal cries at the rising sun, at vomits fire, and how the dog barks at me fearlessly. And then the symptoms continue, and where he says, and Bhima being addressed as tiger amongst men, is saying how the animals are passing me on my left side, and lower animals like the asses are circumambulating me. My horses appear to weep upon seeing me. So here Yudhishthira Maharaj is seeing all the bad omens. Now that Arjuna has been gone for several months to Dwaraka to see Lord Krishna, and Yudhishthira Maharaj being anxious, he's seeing all these bad omens in his palace, and he's discussing this with Bhima. So the times where Yudhishthira Maharaj and the Pandavas were there was very different, So even the dogs during those times didn't bark unnecessarily at anybody. Nowadays, if we see any dog going by us, it will bark at us unless it is, very well trained. But in those days, dogs just didn't bark at anybody and everybody. So, and Yudhishthira Maharaj also saw how the jackals were howling, looking at sun. So, here Yudhishthira Maharaj is, in these verses are indicating about the science of woman history. It is quite extinct now, but in olden days, people actually looked at omens before starting any work, before doing anything, or observed and had, watched caution whenever they saw bad omens, coming their way, and took some caution in what they did. So this omen science is called a Nimitta Shastra. It is said that when Krishna was in Sandipa Muni's ashram being a disciple, this was one of the Shastras he learned in Sandipa Muni's ashram. So, in one of the Shastras, it is mentioned that, when good things or bad things happened, there were three indications given. One in the sky, and one on the earth around us, and one in our body itself. The people who are, when, let's say, earthquake coming, the birds will start, all of a sudden the birds will start moving, flying suddenly, or when the people around us, in some occasions, will have different reactions in their bodies. For example, some people say our left eye is flickering, or left part of the body is flickering. Like Yudhishthira Maharaj is also mentioned in the previous verses where his left part of the body is shivering. So that is how our body reacts. And the people around us, some people just out of no reason start behaving in an irrational way. So there are different kinds of reactions. The Prakriti gives an indication where something good or something bad is going to happen. So, for example, if we take those indications given by Prakriti as a caution, the reason why this is given is to give us a notice so that we are alert. For example, I think in a year ago or a couple of years ago, there was a terrorist attack in India, where there was a sudden ambush on a set of military force. Because the attack was all of a sudden, the damage was more. Had they had the intimation, the damage would have been much lesser. So, in the same sense, if one notices the things around, and if one notices the indications that Prakriti is giving, the impact might be less. But having said that, nothing that happens around us is a sudden. As we all know, as we all believe in karma, everything is kind of defined, but Prakriti also does its part in giving some indications, whether it is good or bad. So here, Maharaj Yudhishthir, being perfect in the Shastra, is getting the indications, is able to observe the indications that Prakriti is giving. In Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna also says in chapter 1, 30th verse, Nimittani cha pashyami viparitani keshava. So even before the war started, since Arjuna also had good knowledge in the Shastra, he is saying that, I don't see anything, any good outcome of this war. He's kind of, bewildered at that point, but even then, having the knowledge of the Shastra, he was able to see that, and there is now no good outcome of this war. So, and also Vyasadeva, before the war, Kurukshetra war starts, he comes and meets Dhritarashtra. He says to Dhritarashtra, I know since you don't have eyes, you cannot see what is happening around and what is happening in the, what are the symptoms that are indications that are given by the earth, sky, and the people around us. But since I have eyes, I can see that I can see what is happening around in the people around us and in the sky. So, and he also says that every day in the morning, as soon as I get up, I hear voices of vultures and dogs barking and jackals howling. So he says that this is nothing but the creation is giving me indication that something bad is going to happen, and he also indicates to prevent whatever bad is going to happen. Similarly, Kansa also gets signs before Krishna is born. So he also he starts getting bad dreams, and he sees something all bad signs in his dreams, indicating his indicating his death. So if you take contemporarily, for example, now I think everybody worked on their taxes. So government gives us an indication that so and so is the date before which you have to file. So it's giving an indication saying that, okay, the date is coming, this is the deadline. If you don't file, you have to pay the penalty. But it is up to us if we follow or not. If we don't follow, then we pay the penalty. So this creation gives us indications from time to time, not only good things, but also bad things. In olden days, especially the elders in the house used to tell, when we go out, whenever we're going out, to check the time, or they look around and see if they see any bad signs. They would tell us, no, it's not a good time to go out. So follow a good time and then go out, do things, or wait for some time. Even some people used to say that if you sneeze, you have to sit down for a couple of minutes or drink some water and then go. There are so many things that their heart is indicating, and telling, kind of giving a notice to us. So in Bhagavad Gita also we have we have the 5 elements: time, karma, jiva, Bhagavan, and Prakriti. So actually, when a person who actually pays a good attention to these in and inside and outside, has a good understanding, inner good understanding, and follows them, applies them on a daily basis, he gets, and he understands the connection between Bhagavan and the rest of the four elements properly. So before he does any activity, he will get an indication of of the outcome of the activity, because of the knowledge they have about about the connection between the about the Bhagavan and the rest of the elements, which include earthly and our karma also. So even Garuda Puran, actually sometimes it is quite scary to read the consequences of what happens when we do bad activities. Why it is given, not just to scare us, but to give us an understanding of if we do something wrong in our path, then there will be consequences that we need to bear. But scriptures not only give indications of consequence of bad things, but also good things. Like for example, for us, it tells us, Bhagavad Gita tells us, or Bhagavatam tells us, if we follow Krishna consciousness, if we if we perform devotional service, what is the benefit of it? We ultimately achieve the lotus feet of Krishna and be in the eternal service of Lord Krishna. So that is the benefit of doing a good thing for us by following Krishna consciousness. But like all these, in the verses, Yudhishthira Maharaj indicating jackals howling, horses weeping, he was talking about all these different species. So these species might not have a direct knowledge of what is happening, what is going to happen. Like they cannot, for example, when there is a bad something is going to happen, before we understand, see, the dogs sometimes start barking. They have a more intuition than us, but that doesn't mean they have a direct knowledge of what is going to happen. But the Paramatma, like how we have in our heart, they also have the Paramatma residing in their heart, gives them some indication. Like for example, we have the speed limit post on the roads. So it is for us to follow the speed limit post, so that when we need to, we should slow down, so as not the accidents not to happen. So if we don't follow, we might end up in a difficult situation for us or for the people around us. So what these speed breakers, what is speed limits or speed breakers do for us? It kind of gives us time when, when something adverse happens or something good happens, to give us some self-analysis time. So to differentiate that in the activities what we are doing versus what we should be doing, especially when we are, we should not looking at only the negative side, but when things go in a different direction for us, we really ponder: am I really doing the correct thing? Why, even though I'm pursuing the right things, I'm not achieving the results or goal that I want to. But when we do the self-analysis, when it kind of gives us an idea of where we're going wrong or where we should take help from. That kind of indications are given only when we slow down, take a step-by-step action, and do some self-analysis. So that kind of gives us again, to start our journey in a positive note. Self-analysis always helps. When it comes to Srila Prabhupada, he did not refer much about this Nimitta Shastra for us because we are in Kali Yuga. So every day, the moment we open the newspaper or the moment we see anything around us, there is some unfavorable things that are happening. We hear or we see on a daily basis. So it is very hard for us, and also this knowledge kind of became very extinct. It is not in unless one has the knowledge about the Shastra clearly, we cannot read those signs. So it is, since the things are happening around us all the time. So what Prabhupada taught us is to just do anukulyasya sankalpanam pratikulyasya visarjanam. So he taught a greater principle for us to do only those things which are favorable to our Krishna consciousness and which takes us closer to Krishna, and discard those which are not favorable to our devotional service. Because n number of things happen during the day. Pick up only those which are favorable, like what we are doing right now, reading Bhagavatam, which will enhance our day, in leading our day in a very Krishna conscious way, and discard those which are not going to be favorable for us. So, in one of the entries in Harishwari Prabhu's diaries, it is said that Prabhupada did not prefer to travel on a Thursday. I read it. I haven't seen. In one of the, I heard in one of the lectures that Harishwari Prabhu made a note of this in his diary. But personally, he did not prefer to travel on his anything else. But when it came to preaching, he did not really consider any rules, because any task performed for Krishna is Shubhapradam. So he did not consider any rules, what time, what muhurat, what auspicious time, what signs, because there are people who will see, okay, if a cat crossed my path, a black cat crossed my path, it's a bad sign. I'm not going to travel today. I'm not going to go outside today. But Prabhupada, when it comes to preaching, did not consider any of these rules. So, and all he did is pray to Krishna, seek the blessings of the Vaishnavas, and lead the service, because anything done in Krishna's service is Subhapradam. This past 1.5 years, we've been going through such a difficult period of dealing with Corona at different levels. But this is kind of a speed breaker. This is kind of a speed limit sign for the whole world to kind of self-analyze what they are doing, because obviously this is a there is some the Prakriti is giving some indication of what we are doing is wrong. So it is time for everybody to cross check what they are doing. But as devotees, we are very fortunate, because as devotees, in this self-analysis time, we can utilize the time in the best way by reading our scriptures, Srimad Bhagavatam, or taking association of the devotees of Krishna, listening to Kirtan, and make them as the good almonds, or for us in progressing in Krishna consciousness and transcend from this world. So in this way, if devotees can see the positive side even when the calamities, and perform positive things And when the situation is in difficult, like the times that we are in right now. So these are some of the points and things I've noted, and while reading these verses, we're open for some discussion now. If we have any comments or points that anybody wants to share. Thank you, Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, this is Jyotirmaya Dasi. Please accept my humble yes, humble glory, Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Mataji particularly bringing about the point about the Shakunam. Basically, I was brought up in a Sri Vaishnava family and totally into, looking at the Rahu Kalam, for each and everything, even stepping out of the house. Did you see whether it is Rahu Kalam or Yamakantam? Like that, basically coming out from that family and coming to Krishna consciousness in one way, it really helped me. It really nurtured basically from my childhood. In another way, looking at all those, the Saguna Shastras. After coming here, but Srila Prabhupada was very pragmatic person who gave very clear cut, as you said, he brought out that point, anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya varjanam. Very true, like, whatever is required for Krishna consciousness, and, if it is for the service of Krishna, no need to look for anything. So I'm very happy, like, following Srila Prabhupada's step, at least trying to attempt anything in favor of Krishna's service. No, don't look back for all those things. That's a very nice point you brought out. I really enjoyed your class, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mataji. Anything else? Okay. Not, we can end the call. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Hare Krishna. Lingaraj, I think we can disconnect.